Hello and welcome to my review of the Wallkill-Walden rail trail. While I don't know if this paved walking trail was ever actually a railroad, it does fit the practical criteria of being a rail trail as it is relatively straight and flat. This review will be primarily focusing on the perspective of someone starting on the Wallkill side of the trail. To start, there is plenty of parallel parking and marked spots available across the street. Signs say not to park at the police station directly across the street. However, the police station's parking lot does sort of morph into a small dirt area where cars are often parked. I personally don't park there. After you cross the street, an affair that is usually quite easy as the slow speed limit, yield to pedestrian sign, and fact you're literally 25 feet from a police station, makes people pretty willing to let you cross. The entrance already shows a quirk of this particular trail, the many benches. There are a lot of benches, but we will get back to that. Biking, walking, and similar activities are all allowed on the rail trail, and the pavement is good enough that roller skating or blading would be a pleasant experience. Devastatingly, no motor vehicles are allowed. Shout out to the Lions Club, I guess, for maintaining the Wallkill section. The walk begins a bit too close to 208, with cars and parking lots being a mainstay of the right side of your scenic experience. But soon, the gap between you and the road widens, and the area to the left becomes pleasant farmland. Soon you will come to the first of 3 intersections on the rail trail. The first is just a small, insignificant road likely related to the aforementioned farmland. Enter at your own risk. Annoyingly, even the first 2 crossings, which are on a road that is obviously not very heavily traveled, are accompanied by a rude red hexagon. As a non-traffic expert, I would personally like to endorse more yield signs and more intersections with stop signs only to the less traveled direction. Warning for those of you who thought you were just headed to the village of Walden. You must enter the town of Montgomery to do so. Speaking of which, what exactly is the deal with the town of Shawangunk? Is Wallkill the town of Shawangunk? Is the town of Shawangunk in Wallkill? Vice versa? Please tell me the truth, a hot take, or even a blatant lie on the subject in the comments below. Be sure to look to your right for anything hanging in the trees. I've seen a few interesting things in them, but on my recent walking trip for these pictures, I only saw this heart thing. Adorable. Now here is something you would only notice if you were trying to review a rail trail for some reason. Why is this dog waste sign so aggressive? Dog waste is a threat to the health of our children, degrades our community, transmits disease. Leash, curb, and clean after your dog. It's required by law. I certainly agree with the core message of this sign, however maybe a little too wordy. Maybe something more like, pick up dog waste, or even just a symbol. Also, this guy picking up after his dog looks awful. Crouch down, idiot. Why are you hunched over so weird? Maybe the town would have more success with people picking up dog crap if they portrayed the people who do it as a little cooler. Much better. The next crossing is some sort of spiritual retreat. Thankfully, rail trail visitors are welcome. I personally have checked it out a while ago and bought this cute little elephant and gave it to my mom as a gift. They had free samples of lemon cookies, which were very good for lemon cookies. For those interested, I have left a link to the Muktandah Marg website in the description. Go ahead, take one. Alright, technically there are 4 crossings on the trail, but come on, this one doesn't count. Very recently there is, after passing these gates, some sort of motorized device on the right down the hill. I have heard it running before, but I'm unsure of what it is for. At first I thought it was some kind of pump for nearby water, but I really don't know. Hey look, somebody carved the letter A into some trees. Now we come to the final crossing, which is Lake Osiris Road. Here is some parking for the rail trail that is called KIMBALL Park. Why is it called KIMBALL Park? This is not a park. This is a parking lot. As you can see by the fact that it's literally just a paved rectangle for cars. It has no facilities for rest and recreation, unless you include this porta potty. Although it does have a nice little auxiliary trail so you can get to the rail trail without having to walk on the side of the street. Now here's a little sign idea for you. Warning, casuals need not continue. Road becomes slightly hilly ahead. Although I do think the hills are worth it, as the stretch of rail trail from this parking lot to the end is, in my opinion, the nicest to look at. I would say the top site is this tree and the water that can be seen intermittently off each side. When you see black fence on the right side, you know you're getting close to the end. Even if it is a little chewed up for some reason. When you reach the end, you will be smacked in the face with signs. Someone put a googly eye on this dog and made him say a curse word, although this is a pretty clever phrase, and I think it might be the perfect thing to replace that ugly wordy sign I showed earlier. Here are a bunch of obvious rules. I'll summarize. If dark, closed, no cars, do not stomp on the grass, stay to the right, pass on the left, yield the right of way, wear clothes, keep away from me, keep your trash away from me, and finally, no land speed records. At large is amusing language to use for a dog. Here are some points of interest. I personally think taking the trail with Frosty Freeze as a destination is a great idea. Good burgers, great fries, and ice cream. Now, to get there, there's a very cool curvy hill up to the rarely traveled road. Unfortunately, riding your bike on this hill is frowned upon by the people who make signs. Don't tell anybody, but it can be quite fun to ride up in a low gear or down holding the brakes. I obviously would only do this if no one was nearby that might want to walk on the hill, but I will still professionally endorse doing what the sign people say. There is parallel parking close to the top, however if you are not disabled, it seems they want you to park at Wooster Grove. This does require crossing Main Street, but it's Walden, so you'll be fine. I suppose the proper end to this trail is this Welcome Center. It was closed at the time of my visit, but I'm sure it's not very interesting. More interesting is the Wooster Grove Playground. This is an A1 playground. In the top 3 I have ever had the pleasure of enjoying as a wee lad. If you are not wee, I would set your destination at Frosty Freeze Plaza. While I believe Frosty Freeze is seasonal, Duncan obviously isn't, and there are some nice nearby benches to eat with a view of a nice stream that separates the plaza and playground. The quirks of this rail trail include some reoccurring graffiti, such as A, and some faces, this big piece of wood that I guess is supposed to keep this power line from falling over, and these private property signs that on the opposite side say no motor vehicles. Who the sign is for, I am unaware. Amazing they could waste the money on these signs facing the brush, and still had room in the budget for all the benches. There are 22 benches on this rail trail. Now keep in mind, this is about a 3-mile stretch of rail trail, and I have seen a bench before that had fallen off the side of the trail down a hill. Now I don't know if this bench was recovered, or if I just couldn't see it at this time because of the grown-in foliage, but I'm figuring if your rail trail with 23 benches goes down to 22, you just sort of leave it. I mean, no disrespect to any of those people these benches are in the honor of. In fact, when I die, I think it would be great if I could contribute to this collection, and I hope you do the same. Imagine, people would come from hundreds of miles away for the chance to walk a 3-mile stretch where you can sit down at any moment on either side of the trail. In conclusion, this is a pretty good stretch of rail trail. Round trip, personally, it's over 2.5 hours to walk, about an hour to run, and under 40 minutes to bike. I would most strongly recommend running to the end and back. I'm personally a fan of that length run. I give the Wallkill-Walden rail trail a 7 out of 10. I enjoy the unintentional bench gimmick and would even go up to an 8 if there were more of them.